Okay, so this is a very short little video. I just want to talk through using the map function to change an analog reading of 0 to 1023, and I'm going to use map to change that value to a percentage, 0 to 100. So it's just a little demonstration of that. Again, based on a little something I've been working through programmingelectronics.com, which is well worth a check. So let's have a little look. This should be fairly quick. So I've just got a potentiometer set up there, and as always, just following the circuit around. So we've got 5 volts coming out, nice and color coded today. 5 volts coming out into the right pin of the potentiometer, obviously throwing through, and then lovely color coded back through a blue one, going back into ground, and then the actual data, the 0 to 1023 reading, depending on where this potentiometer moves to, is going to go in on analog 0. Yes, analog 0. Obviously it needs to go into an analog input because digital input is only going to take an on-off 0, 1, true, false, whatever you want to call it, value. We want 0 to 1023, so it's got to go into analog. Just as a by the by, just to make it logical, when I'm dealing with potentiometers, I usually hook them up so that the 5 volts is going into the right pin as I look at the front of the potentiometer, and the 0 is going into the left pin as I look at the front of the potentiometer. That's just so that it's logical to me from I don't know, DJ mixers and sound equipment generally, that moving anti-clockwise takes you down and moving clockwise takes you up. It's just my way of doing it. I like my ground on the left, my 5 volts on the right, and then I'm going from 0 that way to 1023 is that way. Or if you're going a bit Spinal Tap, 0 is that way, 11 is that way, and the reading comes from the middle pin. Okay, shouldn't take long to talk through this one really. I'm getting a bit of a glare. Hang on, that's better. So yeah, quick enough really. What I've done, I'll run it first actually, and we can see what we're getting. Okay, I'm good, thank you. Right, what have we got? 756 on the map data reading is 73, so if I move to the left, hopefully the values are going to go down, down, down. Okay, so the first raw analog data reading obviously is from 0 right the way up to 1023, and what the map function is doing is it's taking that 0 to 1023 value and mapping it to 0 to 100, and I've just thrown a percentage on the end there. So you're just really taking raw analog input data of 0 to 1023 and mapping it to another value. I chose a percentage, you don't have to. So yeah, kind of cool. Nothing crazy going on. What do we got? Constant integer pop pin. Put a constant on there because it can't be changed then basically. Potentiometer pin, so that's our input, analog 0, A0. Okay, in the setup, serial begin, baud rate 9600, just your standard line of code for setting up serial communication between the Arduino and the serial monitor on the PC. And then the most important bit, the loop. So what have we got first of all? Integer value, raw data, analog read, pot pin. So that's going to give me a value depending on where the potentiometer is from 0 to 1023, and I'm storing that value in a variable, an integer variable called raw data. What we're then going to do, if I just zoom out slightly, serial print raw analog data reading equals, and then on the next line I'm throwing in whatever that reading is. I put it on the print line so that I get a little spare line basically after that. Anyway, there's the interesting bit there, int map data. So I basically create a variable that's going to store my changed data. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to go from 0 to 23 and map that onto values of 0 to 100, and that's what the map function will do for me. So what have we got to pass in? So map, obviously, as you can see there, value to be mapped, well that's raw data. Okay, remember raw data is the analog read, so that's going to be 0 to 1023. So that's the actual variable name that I want to map. And then what have we got? Previous low, previous high. So the previous low is 0. The previous high is 1023. And then if you look at my notes at the end there, new low, new high. So the new low is going to be 0 as well. And the new high is going to be 100. Okay, so there you see it. Just zoom out a little bit so you can see the full line of code there. Int map data. Okay, so I'm just creating the variable that I'm going to store the mapped data in. Map. Throw in the variable that I want to map. The original starting value, the original finishing value, and my new starting value and new finishing value. The rest of it then is just basically printing it out. Sorry, I'm very wobbly today. Got my elbows on the table, that's probably why. So maps data reading equals, and then I'm going to throw in that variable there, map data, which is going to be 0 to 100 this time. I then wanted to get a percentage on the end. I think there's probably a better way to concatenate than this, but anyway, it worked for me. And the empty print line at the bottom is just because I wanted a space between each reading. Okay, the results of all that, I think I've probably still got it running, have I? Yeah. Okay, so that spare line there, okay, is the result of that empty thing at the end. So we're on 0. Go up. Okay, so a nice little function. Nothing major, nothing too heavy, but it's useful if you're taking, 0 to 1023 is maybe not as useful as, for example, a percentage. You don't have to use a percentage. You could use any value you want. You can map it to. Anyway, there you go. Thanks a million. Bye.